And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 116th week of Hex Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin, and it's going to be a great show tonight because I'm going to be digging into the claim that one of the best trades in crypto history, one of the best performing investors of all time, is someone who did invest in Hex early on, who invested in Ethereum early on. And we're going to see if the claim is true that they turned $6,000 into over $4 billion. And spoiler alert, pretty much somebody already claimed this and then said it wasn't true, but I've got the math to show you tonight. So that's going to be good. And then what does this mean for your Hex therapy? Well, it means that outrageous numbers are in the game and that traditional finance hasn't acknowledged what's going on in crypto yet, because we see everybody admiring investors like Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, but people are not broadly admiring the God whale. So with that being said, hit the like and subscribe button, and welcome to another week of this show.
It's from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie ALLin's got that covered. Does emotional, feel-good, mind management, emotion stuff like as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like, he helps heal people.
All right, welcome back to the show. I'm excited to do a little bit more chain analysis tonight. Now, if you are familiar with my chain analysis course that about 500 people have taken for free, you can check that out at pls.academy, and that will take you to the virtual classroom where you'll be able to learn some beginner to intermediate skills with chain analysis. And some of those skills are ones that I'll show off tonight as we dig into the supposed wallets of the real God whale. Now, let me build the narrative and give you some context as to what it is that we know and we don't know about the real God whale. First of all, why is this person called the real God whale? Well, it was somebody who doubled the price of Hex in a single candle back probably about 6 months into Hex maybe. And that really got a lot of people's attention. Another thing that we know about the real God whale is that they donated to the Highest of Stakes documentary. They donated 100 ETH. And then somebody made a parody account claiming to be them and taking the credit on Twitter. And so that's when the real God whale created an account on Twitter called @TheRealGodWhale, and then did an on-chain transaction with Funding Jim, aka Gary, to prove that's the person who controlled the account. And then the person who was running the parody account, they admitted, defeat, and so that's how the legend goes. But you can see it all there on Twitter in black and white, and you can see it all on chain. That's the other incredible thing about this story that we're going to go through tonight, is it's all on chain. And so when somebody makes a claim that they were an early investor in Ethereum, guess what? The records go back that far. Goes back. And so we'll be able to see exactly what they bought in for. Now, I think when I ran the math, another spoiler, when I ran the math, I don't think the $6,000 worth of cash that the person put into Ethereum at an ICO price maybe of like 60 cents or 30 cents or somewhere around there, that they put that in, and then that amount of ETH became $4 billion worth of Hex. I think it's only about only about $1 billion worth of Hex today. But remember, Hex is down 10x from its all-time high. We're 90% down. And so it was certainly over $4 billion at one point. And today it is still over the $1 billion mark. And what we're going to see as well is that wallets that are linked to the real God Whale also are at Poseidon status. Okay. Now, I have to admit, I have not done a full chain analysis on all these wallets. I'm going off of a list that the community generated. Some of the addresses do look familiar to me as ones that are associated with the real God Whale. But that's the thing about crypto is there might be bits and pieces of evidence showing that these things are linked together on chain. For me, I'm making content all the time and, recovering from my shoulder injury and all that. So, I don't have as much time as the people do in hex trading, who are the real MVPs who have generated this list, but I will, shout out to them and respect everybody. So you always have to remember whenever you're, listening to claims that, you can go do the research yourself. I'll show you some of the steps that I'm doing in order to verify this claim. So let's start off. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with the claim on Twitter that I found where the addresses were so that you can see my starting point for this assignment. And then what we'll do is we'll go through, we'll use a new tool today, portfolio.metamask.io. And we'll use 3 other websites that are key tools in doing kind of the rudimentary chain analysis, the beginner to intermediate steps, etherscan.io, go.tshare.app, and stakehex.today. And so with all of these different tools, that's what we'll be able to use to piece together the story and cross-verify the on-chain stats. So let's see here. I'm getting ready to share my screen, but I wanted to show where I started. So we saw that the account at Whale Hex also noted that there was an address that staked just today to get 15,000 T-shares. And let me see if that's one of the ones on my list for the real God Whale. You see it's an address ending in 338. No, that's not on my list. Interesting. So there's somebody else out there who decided to push the button on time locking $6.6 million worth of Hex. Shout out to you. Look at all this whale activity that we're seeing in Hex. And there was also there was a speculation, a wild speculation that somebody said, hey, wait a second, wasn't Andrew Tate locked up at the same time we saw the last God Whale activity? That was about 40 days ago. And at the end of the day, you can't really prove that it wasn't somebody else pressing the button and that sort of thing. But I think it's unknown. It's completely unknown who the real God Whale is. But the real God Whale did come back and end a stake just in the past couple days that Gerardo at lookintohex.com had good accounted for them that had been bleeding out, I guess, for about 3 weeks. And so that's really fascinating as well. We're witnessing some historic whale behavior. And Crispy Man of hexfire.io on the show on Tuesday night had said that the real God Whale has let things bleed out before. And that could be for a number of reasons. It could be for a very important security reason that individual doesn't hold on to their private key at every moment and, doesn't have access or doesn't know where they're going to be 2 months from now to be able to end a stake and that sort of thing. So that's also worth mentioning. So I'm going to share my screen here and we are going to go through. Yes. Here we go. So it was actually Cassius Bridges who made the post that I'm going to refer to here. And they referenced hex trading, t.me/hex trading as the source of people who are doing a lot of chain analysis. So here, what do we have? Okay, so they said, fun fact, the Hex God Whale has 5 wallets. Mind blown. None of them belonging to the Hex OA or daughter wallets. That's an assumption. The God Whale did get into ETH at around 75 cents and into Hex at around 0.000071. Let's see. 2, 3, 4. That's really early in Hex. That's earlier than I thought. That's interesting. And his overall initial deposit was around 6K in 2015 to buy ETH, which is now worth around 4.3 billion. And if you read down in this thread, it was not worth that much. 400,000 ETH is worth around 650 million, not even close to 4 billion. Buying 400,000 ETH at 30 cents was around $120,000. Okay, but the way I'm going to tie this back together is the amount of ETH that they put into Hex might have been closer to 6K and might have then yielded 4 billion in the bull market back when Hex was near all-time highs. So, I mean, if we're looking at the scale of this thing, the scale is probably thousands or tens of thousands of dollars turned into billions. And so let's dig into the real numbers here though. Okay, so we got the 5 addresses there, and then somebody down here also commented that there are 2 other addresses that they've associated with the real God Whale. So, and these are Genesis shares. So I'll share this Twitter thread because it does have a shitload of the information in it, and then we will look at the other tools here that I have to share. Yeah, here's somebody who Dimension Cinco added a couple more wallets. So that's where the original claim came from, and then we can go and dig in and see what it looks like. So here we've got my screen didn't change. Let's try this again. What's the chat saying? What's up, Diraj? Good to see you there. Johnny Chaos, what's up, man? Good to see you. Uncle Will, Trix, Don Wiley. I missed Jerry. Love this community. Melv Tony, 5.2 cents. Very good. Believe in yourself. Robert C, Brissology, Blaine. It's good to see everybody here. Awesome. So there's the Twitter thread. So we can see, so I opened up these 7 different wallets because I wanted to enter them into these other tools that we're going to play around with. And I wanted to make sure that I had the addresses correctly copied out of the screenshot that I took. So like my iPhone can copy the addresses, but whenever it copies it from a picture into text, it usually messes up the zeros and turns them into O's at the beginning. And that's the main issue. So I had to go through very quickly before I started the stream. And I just opened up all these different addresses on Etherscan to make sure that I was inputting them correctly into the other tools. Now we can just flip backwards here and kind of see the different addresses here on Etherscan. So this one has still 1,622 ETH in it. And then it has 89,000 DAI. It has $5,000 worth of Hedron. So that's one address. And then the one that ends in D1 has 25,000. So I'm going to add 25,350 because I'm gonna count up how much ETH is still in these 7 addresses. That'll be curious to see. Here's 100,000 Hex. It's $5,000 worth at current values. This address only has 1 Ethereum in it, plus 1. And next one going backwards, this one has 400 Ethereum. And this is the one with a lot of liquid Hex. This is $150 million worth of liquid hex. And that is, it looks like 2.8 billion. Hey, Art, good to see you there. Thanks for being a member of the channel. Tex Hex, good to see you. Stephen Thomas, Charles Stone. Everybody saying hi to each other in the chat. Welcome. Okay, so $150 million worth of hex. That's noted. Did I add the 400 ETH yet? I don't think so. Plus 400. Right. And then going backwards, we got another account here with $11 million worth of Ethereum in it, $83,000 worth of synthetics. And we're adding to the Ethereum total 6961 Ethereum. That is 34,000 Ethereum so far that we've seen in these wallets. Here's another wallet with 21 ETH in it, and it's got $8 million worth of hex in that one. Plus 21. Okay. Anything else? There's another account, it looks like, with 20 Ethereum in it. All right. And 420 Uniswap tokens. There you go. Okay, so those are the 7 wallets that I had on my list for the Real God Whale. The amount of Ethereum in them is 34,375. And at the current valuation of Ethereum at $1,657, that gives us a grand total of $56 million worth of Ethereum. Okay, not bad, not bad. And but how much hex is between all these wallets? Well, to see that, we have 3 other tools pulled up here. Well, let me double check here too. Let's see, $176 million. Okay, that would make sense, because what we said, there was about $150 million worth of hex. Here it shows $118 million worth, and then the $56 million worth of Ethereum. Yep, my math was good there. So this is a tool. It's a website called portfolio.metamask.io. You can connect your wallet, and then it'll show for multiple addresses sometimes, sometimes within that wallet. And another thing that you can do is add wallets that you don't have access to. So it's kind of like StakerUp in that regard, that you can just watch other public addresses. Like, for example, if I drop down the accounts here that I'm looking at, then I could, I could go to hexfire.io, and I could look up the origin address wallets that stake. There's like 13 of those. I could throw those in there. I could add another account. I could add Vitalik.eth, right? And I could see, be able to iBang his wallet. So, but this gives you a breakdown, see, of all the different coins that the Real God Whale holds. And you can see that in these 7 addresses that Hexicans have identified, now there's a good chance there could be more, right? The original post that we saw only had 5 addresses, and then there were 2 more that were proposed by people. So, but what we're seeing here in these 7 addresses is that it's about 1/3 of the value is Ethereum, and 2/3 is liquid hex. Now, a lot of people have experienced that kind of a situation where hex didn't start off as your most valuable thing, but then it quickly became a larger and larger percentage of your portfolio. So I find that interesting. But remember, this is not including the staked hex. Now, to look at that, we have 2 different options. So one of the options is go.tshare.app. And I am one of the founders of this. And so here it's a really smooth way to look at things on mobile or on desktop. Here I'm showing you desktop, but it's written in the React coding language, so it's going to feel like more of a mobile or more of an app experience. And the way you get other people's addresses added to be able to view here is you simply type in the domain go.tshare.app/account equals. Then you put the first address. And then before you put the second address in, then you put the ampersand account equals. And then you put the second address. And then you put ampersand account equals. And then the third address, so on and so forth. And then what you're going to find here is that this main staking panel up here is that's only referring to the wallet you have connected. And so this is like kind of a dummy test wallet I have, and there's no Hex in here, but you can see if I had Hex, it would allow me to stake it, right? And so that's kind of cool. And I can use this too as a calculator. I can say, you know, if the real Godwell put, let's say 100 million Hex to a stake and did Quattro Cinco, then how many T-shares would they get? I don't know if that's going to calculate because I don't actually have the Hex there, but oh wait, I got it. Okay, it'll tell me when the days are and stuff, but it doesn't want to show me stuff that's not really there. Okay, but further down, we can see the addresses that we've connected through the domain. And so we can see a breakdown of how much value, how much Hex is staked here. And we can open up each account basically that's summarized here as a panel. And then it'll show us what the statistics are for this particular panel. And then we can go within each stake that's been done, and we can open up that panel and see even more information here. We can tap to toggle the units here to switch between Hex and USD. So that's showing us really all these 7 different staking accounts that have been associated with the real Godwell. There's one for those of you who are just listening, there's one that has $503 million worth of Hex in it. That's the one that ends in BAE8. Then there's another account here ending in 7E6C that has $70 million worth of Hex. Another account that has staked Hex has $192 million worth. Another has $260 million worth. Another has $500,000 worth, another with 10 million, and another with 1.5 million. And so you can see that even just the liquid Hex, that is the majority of what's in those Godwell wallets, is just a fraction of what the actual staked Hex that they have is. Now, I seem to remember rumors from a long time ago that maybe the real Godwell really has like maybe 5 or 10 wallets for each different ecosystem that they invest in. And so we might not be getting the full picture there without consulting with the experts on Hex trading, but I just wanted to show off these tools again for people to just grasp how cool it is that somebody invested so early and made so much on this and is still seeming to support the ecosystem. So so we went on etherscan.io, we went on portfolio.metamask.io, we went on go.tshare.app, and now finally we will go to stakehex.today. And to get the 7 addresses loaded, what you're going to do is you're going to put a comma and a space in between on the search bar here, in between all those 7 addresses, and that's what'll get them to load up here. And then there's a panel here where we can see the current value of these stakes. We can break them down not by stakes, not by months, but by years to get the biggest overview. And then we can look at this in each panel based on USD or based on Hex. But the statistics along the top here show us that out of these 7 addresses, there are 36 stakes. The amount of T-shares, brace yourself for the amount of T-shares. The amount of T-shares that are in these 7 addresses is 1.6 million. 1.6 million T-shares. Okay. How much does the OA have? I don't know. I think the OA has enough to be a Poseidon, but this is definitely Poseidon. This is like OA level amount of T-shares. To put this in perspective, the amount of all the T-shares that exist right now is in between 10 million and 10.5 million. So this is like 16% of all the T-shares that exist. That's incredible. The amount of liquid hex between these wallets is just over 3 billion hex. And the amount of hex, including the staked hex that's in all of these wallets, is 22 billion. That looks right. Yeah, 22 billion. And the total USD value of, I believe this would be the liquid and the staked hex, comes out. Remember, we're down 10x from the all-time high. Comes out to $1.1 billion worth of hex. Incredible. So incredible. And then we can break down these statistics even further. If we zoom in here, we're going to go on this top menu here where we selected years and current and hex. We can go to overview. Okay. And this is a little bit hard to see on the screen here, but I will read it to you. It says, so these are some of the statistics we already read, but it also tells us what the principal was. So the principal was 7 billion hex. The interest that they've received is 12 billion. The amount locked is 19 billion, and that's how we get the total of 22 billion hex. Now, let's see. The average stake length is 7.2 years. That is incredible. 7.2 years. But this is somebody who's been in Ethereum since the beginning of Ethereum, which has probably been about 7 or 8 years since Ethereum was released. Remember, Ethereum, I think, took your money and then you had to wait a year before you got the tokens. Kind of similar to, well, not very similar to Pulse Chain, in fact, but anyway. Okay, and the amount that's been sold out of these wallets doesn't look like anything, or it's not showing up here. So how incredible is that? So that's really crazy. Trying to think whether do I have the origin addresses wallets queued up here, because we could answer the question real quick here, whether the God Whale is trying to compete to be the top staker of all time. I might be able to answer that question here for you all live. I would like to answer it. Here we go. I have organized my data wisely, and we'll just jump right into the OA's wallets. Let's see, how many of the wallets do we know if here that are suspected based on their staking behavior and maybe linked to the adoption amplifier and that kind of thing. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I have a 10th one. Yeah. Well, hope I got all of them. So again, you could probably find this information. You could cross-reference it with HexTherapy.live. I'm gonna open up. Let's see. Can you see my screen? Yes, you can. Got 144 people watching in pure anticipation to see the face-off between the origin address and the real God Whale. It's incredible to see how much hex people the whales have, right? I think this is still loading. I think it takes a while to, yep, there. We just saw one pop up with $100 million worth of active stakes. So this is going to take a second for us to run the analytics on. So I think in this first origin address wallet, there are 12 active stakes, totaling $148 million. In the next wallet, there are 7 stakes, one of which is due now. Progress 100%. There's a $2.2 million stake there that somebody needs to remember to end. The total of these 7 stakes is 77 million. Let's see how many are overdue. We only have one so far. This address, let's see, has one that's been due since November. You know, this might have been good accounted, and it just isn't showing up here as good accounted. But the next one after that is going to be around Thanksgiving of this year. So we got the 7 stakes there. Now let's go to the next wallet. $266 million worth of Hex, 19 stakes, pretty far out. Okay, so we've already got, well, it looks like the origin address already has more stakes than the real Godwell. Here's one with 9 stakes. Yeah, so that gets us over the the 36 that we know of for the real Godwell. Okay, so that's the $100 million OA stake account. This is totaling what's staked. I don't think this is showing us liquid at all. So there's okay, so there's $244 million worth of stakes in that account ending in 3FCF. Next one, 83 million. 7 stakes there, nothing overdue. You don't want to leave your steak on the grill too long. It'll go bad. This account, $112 million, also doesn't have anything overdue. $117 million worth of Hex. Nothing overdue there. And finally, C681 has $85 million worth of Hex. And there is one $10 million stake there that's 100%. Oh, look at all these. Wow, look at all these that are 100%. All of them are. And those may have all been good accounted, and those may be the ones that John Wick had good accounted, legendarily so. And so, yeah, all of the stakes there have probably been removed from the T-share pool. That's, how many T-shares do we have there? Well, we have 107 P shares. And a P share is 1,000 T shares. So that's 100,000 shares. Okay, so overall, it's not going to sum for all these different accounts. So we need to hop over to stakehex.today to get the further breakdown on these. If I can see my screen here and copy all of it, I will do so. All right, let's go to stakehex.today for the OA. And load in, we have 94 stakes that are showing up here. And wow. Okay. Well, hold up here, friends. It's 1.6 million T-shares. Interesting. Okay. Let's compare these stats. So we have 1.6 million T-shares for the OA and 1.6 million T-shares for the real Godwell. Holy smokes. Okay, which one has more? 1.626, 1.658. Wow. Okay, so the real Godwell may have just taken the lead recently on having more T-shares than the OA. This is breaking news, everybody. This is why we do chain analysis. So they're both earning about 10.5 million Hex per day in interest. But look at the difference in the liquid Hex here. The origin address has only 427 Hex liquid, and the real Godwell has 3 billion Hex liquid. In terms of how much is staked, well, no, it's not telling us that exactly. It's telling us the total Hex here, which is 21 billion for the OA, and for the real Godwell, 22.7 billion. Okay, so the real Godwell has Well, but these are only the OA's staking addresses. So of course the OA has way more liquid hex. If we go to the sacrifice address for Pulse Chain, I bet we could find out how much hex. So we're going to go to etherscan.io. And then we're going to type in Pulse Chain. Doesn't say Pulse Chain. Pulse Chain. We're going to go to the Pulse Chain sacrifice address. Where did all the hex go? Oh, wait, it went to the Pulse X sacrifice address, didn't it? Pulse X. Pulse X sacrifice. Ah, there it is. Okay. So there is the $13 billion worth of hex that we've all been after. So that's 250 billion hex right there in that that one address. So so there you have it. So if we had to recap, okay, the real God whale has 3 billion hex liquid, 22 billion hex, including that which is staked. And the origin address staking wallets don't have hardly any liquid hex, but in the PulseX sacrifice address, there's 250 billion. So that's promising. But the part that we just noted today, breaking news for the first time, is that it looks like the real God whale, if these assumptions are correct about the addresses, now has more T-shares than the OA. The OA having 1,626,000 T-shares, and the real God whale having 1,658,000 T-shares. Wow. So that's a difference of what? 58 minus 26. 32. That's a difference of 32,000 T-shares only, which out of all of that, let's see. 626,472. I mean, we're talking like the real God whale now has 1.9% more T-shares than the OA does. But there can only be one Poseidon. So what do y'all think of this? What do you think about the real God whale now having more T-shares than the OA? What do you think about that? Can't wait to hear. If you're watching on replay, leave a comment on the replay. If you're watching live, I want to hear right now. Let's get into it. Let's break this down. Maybe somebody can tell me I got my chain analysis wrong, but I am the guy who taught the class on it. So, hey, Crispy Man, good to see you there. Why good account? Pros and cons. That we had a great discussion about that somewhat in the Game Theory Gang episode on Tuesday night. It's actually somebody told me that it was their favorite episode of all time. Watching that one, and so that's a must-watch episode. Yeah, it's insane. Like people are definitely realizing that. Thanks, Maddie. The Earbuds Squad appreciates you reading the data. Hey, yeah, my pleasure. As much double tap or being able to multitask is a great thing. What's up, Maddie? Hope you're feeling better. You're awesome, just like Hexologist. Hey, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's a lot of T-shares. I agree. I don't have that many T-shares. Hex sitting at 5.2 cents. Great stream. Yeah. Crazy. What if he burns the hex? Boom. Yeah, exactly. Thank you for the alpha. What's up, gang? So I don't think it matters at this point. Both are benevolent. Yeah. Toblerus, good to see you there. God whale also owns a boatload of Texan token. Huh, interesting. wonder, well, where would we see that? Maybe that's not added to MetaMask portfolio yet. Because what else is in the God Whale's wallet? These wallets, not so much. But remember, there could be more that just don't have staked hex in them. And so they were excluded out of what people are looking at. Here it says the God Whale has $5 worth of Icosa. Okay. It's more than me. But does not have more Hedron than I do. Ha ha ha. Only has 2 cents worth of Hedron. I have more than that. Yeah, this is fascinating. This is breaking news. Just wanted to break it down for you. You know, we got to give respect where respect is due. And I think the origin address and the real God Whale, they both are showing themselves to be good actors in the space. Will they never sell? I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't say that. That would be kind of wishful thinking, and that might not be good at the end of the day, for various reasons. But the fact that they aren't dumping, the amount of liquidity that was there at Hex's all-time high, it was only about $32 million worth. So in some sense, these gains are paper gains. But we also know, I think Eric Wall did an analysis that I don't think he published, but verbally mentioned at one point, that there was about $200 million put into Hex, like in the last bull run. So that's real money that people gave up because they were playing a shorter term game, or they wanted to take some gains. Maybe they just want to play with house money only. And then there are people who are accumulating T-shares, and that there's a big difference there between people who are playing a longer term game and people who are playing a shorter term game. And you need both. You need both to have a healthy market. You need people who are taking a short term approach and people who are taking a long term approach as well. We see that the real God Whale has now overtaken the OA in the rank of number one Poseidon. There are 2 Poseidons that we know of. One of them is the God Whale, one of them is the OA. And they both have a very similar amount of T-shares, 1.6 million. But the OA, well, yeah, I mean, the OA has more liquid hex in the Pulse X sacrifice. The real God Whale has more liquid hex in its staking wallets. And even if we look at who were the top sacrificers in for, let's just take Pulse Chain, for example, we can go to pulse lead.xyz, look at who was the number one sacrificer there. The number one sacrificer was only $29 million worth. Number 2 is $19 million worth, right? So, and what is that? 39C5. And I think one of these is who I call the Pulse Longevity Whale, because they are the person who donated to Aubrey de Grey when it was needed. And yeah, so I think that's one of that. Maybe that's the $15 million sacrificer. I mean, it could be the top one. I can't remember. Something like that. Something really impressive and awesome. Let me go back here, look at my addresses and see if I can find any correlations. Yeah, 39C5. Okay. The number 2 wallet is one of the wallets that we know could be associated with the real God Whale. So that's interesting. And then what about 6F? That's not one of the ones here. That might be Rackham or somebody else. And then C81D. See the oh no, that's CD1. Okay. Remember, there was a game theory incentive for people to put all of their money into one wallet, because they wanted to get the top volume bonus and all that. So I think that in general, if they had read the rules carefully, they probably would have sacked from just one wallet. But we see that the real God whale had a $19.6 million sack, was the number 2 sacrificer for Pulse Chain. Now let's check for Pulse X. Why not? You guys are still seeing my screen here. Okay, so this one is pulsexleads.com. I understand. Okay, and then let's see if we recognize any of these addresses. So again, the address ending in 39C5 jumps out at me as the number 2 sacrificer. And this time had put in $29 million, with the top sacrificer for PulseX being $48 million worth. And this is before the OA went in. Okay, cool. Well, that's fascinating that that the real God whale had participated in those 2 sacrifices, and you know, it's interesting because they put in 19 million at first and then 29 million next. I wonder if it was the value of Hex going up that did that. Oh, okay, so they did one transaction that was 7,777 ETH for their Pulse X sacrifice. Okay, fascinating. And I think, and that was on January 1st of 2022 that transaction took place. Let's see for the real God whale. They did 10,000 ETH. Oh, so okay, so the value of ETH must have been higher for the Pulse Chain sacrifice compared to the Pulse X, because yeah, they put in more ETH and into the Pulse Chain sacrifice. Fascinating. So yeah, so you can see it there that in total 17,000 Ethereum were put in by the real God whale in between the 2 sacrifices for Pulse Chain and Pulse X, and that landed them at the 2nd spot for both, with that 39C5 address. I'm on catch up, says Bristology. I'm so behind. That MetaMask portfolio site is not super accurate. It often shows wrong figures for my accounts. Yeah, I've had that problem too. Well, you don't know whether the God whale has other coins if you didn't do the chain analysis yourself. Not your chain analysis, not your conclusion, right? The new OA. Oh, I wouldn't say that. That'll get people upset. But yeah, it is a wow situation here. Is there a way to prevent others from good accounting on your stake? No, there's not. Cool breakdown. Yeah. Okay. People arguing about coins in the chat. That's always the sign of a healthy chat there, right? So, okay, yeah. So back to the original claim. The biggest win in crypto history was turning 6K into $4 billion. Okay, so to figure that out, we'd have to see how much the real God whale put into Hex, I guess, wouldn't we? Trying to see if there's any way for us to easily find out how much they put in. Might have to save it for the next game theory gang. says $370 million worth of principal, but that could be referring to the principal that was staked, not the principal of acquiring the hex in the first place. But the amount of hex that they've acquired that they started with would have been their principal of 7 billion hex. And if we just take that times this, well, yeah, I mean, so basically what we'd have to do is we'd have to go through all of these Etherscan situations, and Crispy Man might have a better way to do this. He might have some tools that are more powerful from hexfire.io, but you'd have to go through and find where the God Whale actually bought all of the hex and see what they bought it for. And if we want to do a rough estimation based on what other people said, then we could verify it further later on. I just don't think they could have gotten $7 billion worth of hex volume out of the price that's so close to the bottom. So maybe the God Whale first got into hex at 0.00007, but remember the absolute bottom was 0.00005, and so they definitely didn't get in for all 7 billion at that price. But the way that the math would look there is, even if really you want to go to like Wolfram Alpha for this kind of like calculation, because then you could just type the words in. So that is 7 billion times 0.00007. 2, 3, 4. So it's like $500,000 worth of Ethereum. But if you bought Ethereum when it's 50 cents instead of $500, then what? You're knocking off 1,000x. 50 cents. Math on stream is hard. 50 cents, that's 10x to get $5, 10x to get $50. Yeah, I think that's right. So knock off a 1,000x, and then you could see, that's only $500 worth of, so $500 worth of Ethereum at 50 cents turned into $500,000 when Ethereum was $500. And then if you put, and then if you're buying at 4 zeros and a 7 hex, which we established you couldn't have done, but how high could you have bought it in order to still make it true that you only put 6K in and you got 7 billion? Well, no, because you didn't put in 6K into hex. You put 6K into Ethereum when it started, and then you flip that into 500,000, and then you put the 500,000 into hex. And yeah, that would the math would probably work out there. So maybe on Game Theory Gang we could get the final results, or somebody can post on Twitter if they do the full chain analysis. But the point I'm trying to get to is the math checks out that you could have put $6,000 into Ethereum at 50 cents. Then you could have taken $500,000. Well, you could have taken several $1 million worth of Ethereum, or maybe even only $500,000, and you could have bought hex, and then you could have 7 billion hex, and then today you could have over $1 billion worth of hex, and at all-time highs you would have had over 10 billion. Crazy. Crispy Man has a link. Oh yeah, grab a ticket to go to the Hexpo Miami event that I'm hosting. I am hosting a meetup for Hexicans at the Bitcoin conference, and that'll be on May 18th to 20th. It's going to be a really great time. I went last year, and I've got a bunch of pictures up on my blog that gives you the details of what we're going to be doing. You want to get your ticket now because I'm going to be ordering the merch. There's going to be custom merchandise, t-shirts and hats and stuff that'll be really cool for people who show up in Miami Beach, May 18th to 20th. You can learn more at hexpomiami.com. All right, and smash the like button. What was the launch price of Hex? I know the BTC holders were airdropped or claimed. What was the price? So the price of Hex starting off on day one was a third of a penny. It then went down like 90% or more. But if you're trying to calculate what was a T-share on day one, well, a T-share started at 10,000 Hex. And 10,000 Hex on day one, so that would have cost you $30. And I think it's really, really ironic that that is the price I think that Richard Hart paid for Bitcoin when he first bought, after he had been mining blocks for free. Because I think he said publicly that he bought Bitcoin for $30 and then it dropped down to $2. Wrecked. So, yeah, so that's probably just coincidental because he couldn't have planned like how many people would buy on the first day. And he told people not to buy on the first day. And I thought that was really interesting. That's why I didn't buy on day one in Hex. I bought on day 3. The price that I got for my first Hex that turned into my first T-shares was $7 per T-share. And then all the way down to Hex in between day 33 and day 34, Hex dropped all the way down to 0.00005. That's 4 zeros and a 5. And so the price of a T-share there would have been 50 cents, I believe. Because the T-share rate maybe only went up to like 10,010 Hex per T-share, something like that. So good question. Russ, I was thinking the same thing in my head when somebody was asking that question. Please don't do that. Please don't EES your stake just so that people won't good account you. HexpoMiami.com. A-Bit, good to see you there. What's up, Hexicans? He says. I haven't been to Miami, Florida yet. Only drove through Miami, Arizona once. I bet Miami, Florida with a bunch of Hexicans in party mode is way better. Very cool. Thank you, Maddie. I'm a second generation Hex holder. Right on, right on. Tortoise Johnny says that there's a bull market upon us. Very interesting. So again, if people want to take my chain analysis course, you can dive way deeper into all this stuff. It's pls.gallery. It takes you to my virtual classroom where there are 4 episodes that are linked on my YouTube, and there's like a syllabus and all this great stuff for free. How cool is that? I'm at 21 T-shares. Happy to be there. Meet you at the Hex Conference 2023. There you go. Well, yeah, I mean, even having 1 T-share is probably going to be more valuable than a Bitcoin someday. Don't have any crystal ball, but you know, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Bristology is first generation Hexican. There you go. There you go. So there you have it, everyone. It's I started the stream, knowing that we'd be digging into the real God Whales wallets and seeing what's going on there, to be basically featuring the greatest Hexican of all time, if you want to call them that. And I discovered while I was streaming live, that the real God Whale has more T-shares now than the OA. Wow, that's incredible. So the Poseidon, the trident that the top Poseidon gets needs to change hands now, or maybe the OA will stake more. Who knows? Either way. I missed Jerry. LMAO, I have 1.18 T-shares. My investment is up 110%. Well, there you go. You must have gotten in at the right time for you. Melf Tony says the price of Hex is at 5.2 cents. I like the price of Hex at around a nickel. I like it because it's that's what the price of Hex was right before the pulse chain sacrifice got announced, if my memory serves me correctly. Just like in the run up there, I think Hex kind of stalled out at 5 cents or had gotten up there. So that's kind of interesting. I meet so many new YouTubers at your conference. Also, the amazing 4+ hours with RH. Yeah, definitely. That was a treat. Liberty Guy, thanks, Maddie. Hey, my pleasure. So, you heard it here first. There's a new, there's a new Poseidon in town, and we'll have to see how it plays out using our chain analysis skills. T-shares are a way for you to pay your future self. I tried to let Elon Musk know that earlier today on Twitter whenever somebody tagged me that he was posting about DeLoreans and about Back to the Future. Look, I even have my Doc Brown t-shirt on here. It says, "The future is what you make it." And with that being said, everybody, thanks for tuning in. I hope you're, I hope you've been having a good day, a good week. This is the 116th week I've streamed live every single Thursday night at 7:30 Central Time in the PM. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Now, what is the Hex Therapy takeaway from this? The Hex Therapy takeaway from this is look at the transparency that we have on chain. We are creating in crypto, we're creating a new financial economy that allows transparency to happen. And it's not necessarily a Black Mirror one where everybody's getting doxxed. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We still got to work that part out. But the part that we do know is that there aren't any double spends happening, and that people who provably delayed gratification by time locking their Hex and paying their future self, they are the ones who are being rewarded inflation. And that is a new economic model that's never happened before. That's pretty incredible. Timothy Harris was so fortunate and bought most of Hex under 3 cents and under 2 cents and put it out for 10 years in staking ladders. That's incredible. Well, I know my devs have been working on Time Pays Me, and I got to check in on that so I can give you an update next week. Abit says time is running out to accumulate cheap Hex. We are going to the moon soon. Hey, why not? I like the moon. Maybe we'll go to Saturn, which has a hexagon formation built into it naturally. Proven. What are these kids saying these days? Based. Tortoise Johnny, thanks for your training, Maddie. I'm starting your course right after I finish the Rags to Riches course. Right on. Maddie, the price was around 0.04 when RH made the announcement that he was starting Pulse. It was on May 4th or 5th. Okay. May the 4th be with you at 4 cents. I think I'll be able to remember that. That would have been in 2021, right? And if you go to my top YouTube streams of all time, I did upload the Telegram audio where Richard announced Pulse Chain, the name of it, that it would be under development. Cool. Hex in SB catching up. Right on. Well, if you made it this far, congrats. Hit the like and subscribe button, and stick around. Tune into all the other amazing Hexicans. Get your ticket for the Hex meetup. Please get your ticket now. Go to hexpomiami.com. Yeah, that's all I got for now. Until next time, everybody, stake wisely, my friends, and peace
It's
out.
from Maddie ALLin of HexTherapy.live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie Allen's got that covered. Does emotional, feel good, mind management, emotion stuff like as his gig because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like he helps heal people.